We're going hot, and we're doing it live, and we're doing it live, and we're doing it live. So it means we got to do this.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
Is part 2 of the week 2 preview here on the Audible. Sometimes got to slow down when I say that, Bloom. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom telling you who to start, who to sit. Coming up are ever popular. What the heck? Flex? Yeah, it's bathrobe day. Bloom, I've been up since 4 a.m. working since 4 a.m. So let's get into it. Indianapolis and Houston. And well, one of the first stories this morning, early at 4 a.m. when I'm checking the Football Guys Newswire, was Leonard Fournette. Yesterday, Zach Moss practicing. Looks like he's going to play in this Indy rushing attack. Is it an attack? It's an attack with Anthony Richardson.
Right.
So, yeah, top 10 fantasy quarter. Yes. Everyone that said Anthony Richardson, it's better than you could have thought, especially as a passer. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I think that the key here is that we see some affirmative evidence that Shane Steichen's going to set him up for success. That Shane Steichen has very accurately perceived this is what you can do now at this point in your development, and that's what we're going to ask you to do. And Anthony Richardson seemed ready for that. Houston's defense had a game effort against Baltimore. But I do think that certainly Anthony Richardson is a fantasy quarterback one. And if you look at how the fantasy quarterback ones, we haven't talked about this yet, Cease. I mentioned it on the couch with Bob. Boy, there were landmines. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields. So if your plan going into the draft was
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. It was not a great week for the top drafted fantasy quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes was the best one, and he didn't have Travis Kelce. So yeah, you got to feel good about him. You got to feel good about the way he set up, especially with this funnel to Michael Pittman. And there was a lot of good work looking at rookie quarterbacks that were running quarterbacks and how poor their wide receiver ones had performed. But they didn't have Shane Steichen as a coach, and they didn't have Michael Pittman as a number one. It looks to me like Michael Pittman, and see, this is one of those ones again where we looked and thought, oh, these low volume number ones, Drake London, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman. Oh boy. Well, Pittman was the cheapest. He may end up being the best. Who's the lead back? Does it matter? We'll get to what the heck flex. I suppose Zach Moss is a what the heck flex because based on what Deion Jackson did, they should give Moss as much work as he can handle. But I think that this is a situation where the running game for the Colts until Jonathan Taylor's back, assuming he is a Colt when he's back, might not give us much to work with.
Yeah, Houston side, and this is a matchup like I'm just getting ready to see for a long time. You know what I mean? Richardson versus Stroud, and well, Damian Pierce fantasy GMs are like, can you do a little more, please? And I understand in the passing game, and they'll work in more people. Like, yes, but let's all just be patient, kind of sit back and watch, and see how this kind of is structured for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, we need to see, and again, we're always correcting, adding that second data point. Baltimore's defense, we'll see how much of it was Baltimore's defense, how much of it was CJ Stroud's introduction to the NFL regular season. You did see Indianapolis's run defense bottle up Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby for most of the game. So I'm afraid if you're looking for a bounce back game from Pierce, this might not be the game. If you're thinking about benching him, I don't know if someone said to me, Damian Pierce or Raheem Mostert, I might say, well, we're already putting Pierce on the bench if that's your number three. Collins and Woods were solid PPR plays. Was that based on volume? Will they be the same volume? I guess your hope for Damian Pierce this week is a more balanced offense because it's a closer game. But still, I don't expect that this is going to be a high efficiency game for the Houston running game, or maybe even just for the Houston offense. But we do know that Dalton Schultz is not going to happen. Tank Dell might happen. Tank Dell is someone that needs more work. I feel remiss, Cease, we didn't talk about him more on the waiver wire show. He was maybe post-hype pickup here, as that might be part of the answer to get CJ Stroud comfortable.
Yes.
And Colts certainly more vulnerable against the pass. So we'll see if Bobby Slowick has a rational game plan for this divisional tilt.
And this week, there was a news report saying Tank Dell would be used more.
Yeah.
So either put a pin in it if you're in shallow leagues, deeper leagues, should have already picked him up, should have been drafted. But Bloom, I wake up early this morning,
Yeah.
and I'm working on my second Bubba, which probably isn't a good thing. But anyway, I'm disappointed in myself, brother. I'm disappointed.
Uh-oh.
I don't like feeling like this. I'm like, Dion, man, you didn't make me, you can't break me. But like, I had never had a Sir Smoke a Lot gif in the show until Diego put it for his team as like, God, if you listening, help.
Mhm.
The doctor says I need a bacchiotomy. But either way, we go to the 49ers and the Rams, just like we planned it, huh? Just like everybody thought it would be. 49ers and the Rams battling for division supremacy in week 2. Okay. Well, the 49ers side, it all seemed to work. A little more Debo is always good. Works with Ayuk. Kittle GMs are like, please, something. C-Mac, it's the 49ers, baby. We know what to expect. And against the Rams, this one should be a good one.
Yeah. See, so we're looking forward to this game a lot more than we thought we would. This is definitely going to
Yes.
be a good learning game, mostly about the Rams, but let's talk about San Francisco. The main thing we need to take away from week 1 in San Francisco is maybe the trade was a massive misfire, the trade for Trey Lance. Maybe trading Trey Lance away for such a cheap pick may look like a misfire in hindsight, but everything is pretty good with the San Francisco offense. So you're playing everybody here, including George Kittle. You know, we're going to have ups and downs with George Kittle. And you also see that big workload for Christian McCaffrey that you envisioned whenever they traded for him, as opposed to what we saw after they traded for him when Elijah Mitchell was getting double-digit touches. The Rams defense is a rebuilding defense. On the IDP Blitz this week, Matt Schauf ran down some of the names. You know, some of these people, maybe folks didn't even know were in the NFL, were NFL players. Russ East, but they did pretty well against Seattle. Was that because the Seattle tackles, which are going to be out again this week, by the way, so incorporate that into your decisions on Seattle passing game start sits. Was that it? Was it just that, hey, when you lose your starting tackles, a lot of defenses are going to look good? Or maybe is this Rams defense better than we thought? Well, we saw San Francisco smoke an inferior Steelers team on the road. Now they're going to be on the road again, but against a divisional opponent. And like we talked about with the Rams Seattle, you might have looked at that matchup on paper and said, Seattle's the superior team here. Divisional matchups, even though San Francisco has owned the Rams, these are familiar teams with each other. And I'm mostly interested, the real learning part of this game, Cecil, is Matthew Stafford really back? Because that's going to change some things.
Yeah, the straw that stirs the drink for the Rams is Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua. You picked him up, you throw him in. Hell yeah. Kyron Williams, yes. And this is the second week where we go, okay, you did it once. Can you do it again? Specifically with Kyron, because with Puka, I'm positive he will continue to have a great trajectory in his pro career. We will watch his career with great interest. So, yeah, do it again, Rams. Put up a fight. Let's see it. It should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. And it is a quarterback-driven league, Cease. So maybe was all of our analysis, my analysis for sure, overlooking that, hey, if Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford, then he can elevate this offense on his own with Sean McVay's help. And that's the other thing we have to look at here is for a while, everybody wanted to hire anybody that was in Sean McVay's Rolodex. And, well, maybe there was a good reason because of you have – like in Kyle Shanahan, an offensive coordinator who makes things easier, offensive designer who makes things easier for the quarterback. Well, what happens when you make things easier for the quarterback and it's a good quarterback? I'm not saying Brock Purdy isn't good, but Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, there's a little bit of a difference there, even though Stafford's late in his career. But the San Francisco defense also made a Steelers offense that we thought might be resurgent this year look bad, really bad, miserable in week 1. I still think you got to play Puka. I would imagine most of am I going to play Puka over? Am I going to play Puka over Amari Cooper or whatever? Yeah. I mean, I think that even if this is going to be a rough game, we're going to play him over Drake London. Yeah. Even if it's a rough game for the Rams offense, what does that mean? A lot of short passing to Puka Nacua. Maybe it makes Tutu Atwell a less attractive what the heck flex. Maybe it changes. We saw 7.9 PPR points for Tyler Higbee last week, 3 catches for 49 yards. Maybe this week it's 6 catches for 19 yards. But still, Higbee is viable. Again, you think if you're projecting this game to be a struggle for the Rams offense, that probably means more passing, short passing to Higbee, Nacua, and maybe Kyron Williams. I'm okay with Kyron Williams this week. We didn't see him involved in the passing game a lot, but that was, I think, part of the reason they drafted him, what they wanted him to do as a complement to Cam Akers. I think it'll definitely be a rough Cam Akers game, but this is the one Cease that you love it. You like these teams. I think Tampa Bay is another team that we wrote off, even the Arizona defense. You love seeing these stories where the coverage, they know how we regard them. They see what their beat writers are writing. They know what the expectations are. We love it when these teams exceed expectations, and we'll see if the Rams can do it again this week.
I want to see if the Giants can do something. Like, okay, that's interesting. Week 1 from the Giants against Dallas. Arizona up, but Arizona's going to put up a fight, man. You saw that last week against Washington, and well, Washington kind of course, keeps them in it with Sam Howell playing hero ball. Like, I can do it. I can do it. Like, yeah, okay, well, maybe, yeah, but there's sometimes you're going to turn the ball over, and the other team's going to do it. So, did the Giants allow Arizona to kind of hang around the way the Commanders did? I don't think so. They should be pretty pissed off, sorry, Joe, from last week and getting blanked by Dallas. So, Giants bounce back, Giants stomping the Cardinals. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, Cease. And what we were looking at here, the narrative was pretty easy in the offseason. This team won a playoff game. They didn't just go to the playoffs, they won a playoff game, a road playoff game. And it was just the year that was supposed to be who belongs in the Brian Dable Giants plan. Does Daniel Jones belong in it, etc. And instead it was, we're building something here. Well, it didn't look that way in week 1. Again, against an Arizona defense with that front seven, very underrated. Daniel Jones has to be better. At this point, if Daniel Jones has a rough game, then we're maybe shutting him down, or at the very least, we're saying you can't start him until he gets something going. And maybe part of getting something going for this offense is Saquon Barkley. That was the one time in week 1 that they looked functional when they were leaning on Barkley. So you would expect a lot of leaning on Barkley, although we did see, again, that game front seven keep Washington's running game in check. We're going to watch Darren Waller. I think chances are, I'm not going to go crazy and say because of Waller's hamstring, play Adam Troutman over him or something like that. Now, Hunter Henry, maybe even a Hayden Hurst, the double H's, maybe because of the momentum they have. But I still think even a not 100% Waller can be a solid play in the devastated landscape that is fantasy tight end right now. But Cease, I think this is another one of those ones. 17 games, more wild card spots. 0-2 isn't the death sentence that it used to be, but It's a big bummer when you had higher expectations coming into the year. And I think for the Giants, if you go out to the desert and you lose, you're really lowering those expectations for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and then starts the what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's the same conversation we'll have about Buffalo. It's why I said I don't want Sean McDermott to get fired if Josh Allen fails again. I don't want Josh Allen to get fired. I want Buffalo to flip and figure it out.
Yeah.
Not as big a fan of Daniel Jones, but Jones so great under Brian Dable. You're thinking, what else can you do? Well, if you're not doing anything, and it's against Arizona. Okay, this is where conversations are started, and it's Arizona, Bloom. I don't really feel energized talking about them, but
Right.
Again, I've been up since 4, so
Every week. Every week, Cease. Every day.
Every day.
The Fangio's defense. Some questions.
The gift to the league.
Preguntas.
Gift to the league. Yep.
Yeah, every day. It's James Conner, who is banged up though. So is it even James Conner? He's on the injury report with a calf injury. And normally when we see guys limited, we would say, well, as long as they get the touches, you're going to play them. But it's James Conner. So he could easily be limited all week, start, and then limp off the field on the first or second drive. So is it even James Conner? Otherwise, maybe it's Zach Ertz in deeper leagues. He actually had something like the 6 for 19 line I was using for effect for Tyler Higbee. That's the passing game. Joshua Dobbs at least isn't terrible. And Joshua Dobbs, I guess the other thing I'll add on to this piece is it again shows that, I get it. If you're a quarterback, if you've been grooming yourself as a quarterback since you were 6 years old, because wow, if you're just in that 32 to 64 range, you're going to make some money. You're going to get chances for these teams. So Joshua Dobbs hanging around after the Steelers took him. We're seeing him start year after year for different teams. So good for him and good for the Cardinals, who are going to have 2 very good picks next year.
Yeah, good for them all. Good for the Jets. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of fantasy jams are like, Brees Hall, can you do it? And then Dalvin Cook, can you do something? Like, do it again and do something in that Jets backfield. Garrett Wilson, amazing. Zach Wilson, less so. But okay, this is what you're doing now. It's what you're doing more. And I feel bad for Robert Saleh because, Zach Wilson probably not real high on his list, but you got to win with this guy. So how do they put up a fight against Dallas this week?
Yeah, see, I talked about this with Bob Harris on the couch yesterday, and I wanted to give it a chance to breathe with you because I know this is something. Can we just take a moment out to say that Robert Saleh might be the best head coach in the NFL? He really might be the
He
best
might
head
be the
coach in
best
the
head
NFL.
coach in the NFL who's going to get fired this year.
Yeah,
Like
but
someone is going to get a great head coach with Robert Saleh. If you
yeah,
get him the right God blessed quarterback. Sorry, Joe. I'm getting angry, Bloom.
yeah,
I
well,
don't want to get angry.
take him out of a dysfunctional organization. How about
Yes.
that?
Yes.
I was just so impressed with see, as some said, maybe it's hyperbole, maybe the most devastating injury that we've watched in real time. And not devastating for the severity of the injury, but for just how much anticipation there was for Aaron Rodgers in the Jets and this era of this team. And it ends so quickly. And the Jets didn't just shrug it off and still play a strong game. They beat the Bills. They beat the Bills. That's head coaching, folks. That's your coach. That's your leader. That it starts from the top. And Robert Saleh is amazing. And it really looks like since the year that we got Saleh and Dan Campbell, we got the vanguard of the new great head coaches. And if it's the Jets fire him, they don't deserve him. There. Wow, what a test for Zach Wilson. And you might be saying, we're Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's the guy. We're not going to bring in Joe Flacco, or we're not going to trade for Jameis Winston or Carson Wentz, bring him in or whatever. But maybe you change your tune after he faces Dallas, after we saw what Dallas did to Daniel Jones. And again, we're adjusting. Now, we might not learn that much. I mean, I guess if we're going to watch these games simultaneously, if Zach Wilson actually has some reasonable level of success against the Cowboys, then we're certainly recontextualizing Daniel Jones and his miserable night. But obviously, yeah, if you have the Dallas defense, folks with the Dallas defense may well start out 2-0 in their fantasy leagues just on that strength. And more Brees Hall. I think that they were going to ease him in, and he breaks an 83-yard run. Maybe not ease him in. Maybe let's see how much he can handle this week. And Garrett Wilson, I don't think you're benching Garrett Wilson for Puka Nacua. Okay. Garrett Wilson, I think that any competent game plan, Nathaniel Hackett's going to matter for this team now, isn't he? Oh, no.
That's bad.
Wait a second. That's not good. But, you do force the ball. You saw his touchdown. You do force the ball to him. You do, even if they're double covering him, even if they're bracketing him, even if they're doing things to try to take him away, he could be that good. So I don't think you bench Garrett Wilson. And I do think that on the other hand, Cease, you really start an arc here for the Jets. If they can go out to Dallas and win this game, and they can win this game. Come on, it's a Mike McCarthy Dallas team. He'll find a way for the Jets to win if they can make the plays, right? Now you've got a win against Buffalo. You've got a win against Dallas. We know this team can run the ball. We know this team has an outstanding defense. And we know this team is a family. I think that you can tell that these guys pick each other up. Did you see how they were reacting to Zach Wilson on the sidelines? Okay. Whatever narratives we want to put out there, they don't want to play for him. They don't want him to be the quarterback. The ownership's forcing him on the team, right? We've heard all that stuff about Zach Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
But look at how the team is embracing him. Look at how the team is lifting him up. So I love what Robert Saleh has
And that comes
done.
from Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
And remember, Zach Wilson's not his favorite guy.
No.
So just think about what you said, Bloom, because it's all true.
Yeah. Yeah. It is all true. And yet this Jets team, this is a fun team to watch in so much as you want to root for them. And I want to root for them more than when Aaron Rodgers was playing for them. And I certainly want to root for them against Jerry Jones.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Live picture of Jets fans right now because, yeah, it is. It's a tough one. We're feeling for you. Dallas, how about them Cowboys? And again, Bloom, going back to last week. All right, you got it done. And you want to see more from Dak Prescott. You want to figure out the tight end situation. They're all interchangeable, everybody. You shouldn't be relying on that. Tony Pollard, yes. CeeDee Lamb, yes. And then behind him, you're like, okay, I actually had Brandon Cook's questions last week, and I was like, "Why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why?" And so now they're okay, a little more like, okay, I'm interested in the superstars on this team and the auxiliary guys. Like, nah, I want to see more.
Yeah, that's the thing about Dallas. We didn't really learn anything about their offense last week
Right,
because it
right.
was a cakewalk. If you have Tony Pollard, you're happy with the touchdowns. Those were gifts. But we don't really know how this Mike McCarthy offense, Brian Schottenheimer, Mike McCarthy offense is going to work out. And we may get a data point that is skewed to the other end. It might just be a frustrating game. See, so if you look in your crystal ball, this is like a 9-6 game, right? Greg Zuerlein, former Cowboys kicker, against Brandon Aubrey, new Cowboys kicker, like that kind of game.
But this could be a great game, and look at what Darth
Oh yeah,
Samwise says in the
yeah,
trenches, man.
it's the trenches.
This is
Yeah,
football.
this is football, and this is going to be a game. See, this is a game that would fit back in the 70s. I saw someone was just putting the clips. Matt Waldman commented on them, the 1976, I think it was the AFC Championship game when the Raiders and Steelers were. I think Chuck Noll said there were criminal acts out on the field. You know, the Emperor. Yeah,
Oh.
there's going to be some criminal acts in this game. It's going to be a really fun game to watch. Not a fun game if you're watching it for fantasy football, but we are going to see a little bit more of where this offense is. At the same time, if it's a miserable day for the Mike McCarthy, Brian Schottenheimer, Dallas offense, we shouldn't say, oh, okay, yeah, it's going to be a disaster because they don't have Kellen Moore. I think we should say, yeah, Jets defense, hats off to them. And again, let's get past fantasy football and let's appreciate this game for what it is.
Yeah, let's just watch and enjoy. It is the Audible. It's part 2 of our week 2 preview here. We are on YouTube, so make sure to help grow our YouTube channel by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And if you've commented in the chat room, one, thank you. Two, comment down below too on the actual video. Helps the YouTube algorithm, and we appreciate that. If you want to support the show, we love the Audible. Love you guys. Thank you. We appreciate that. We're not going to do any silly super chats. Pay me to answer your question. But you want to check out footballguys.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter. Takes written every day by me and Sigmund Bloom and Joe Bryant. That is a hell of a trio. Do I have to say sorry, Joe, when I'm praising him and saying hell of a
No,
trio? No?
no, I don't
No.
think so. That's a
Okay.
positive. It's a positive interpretation of
Yeah.
the infernal place. Hey, if
Anyway.
heaven is a kingdom if heaven is a kingdom within, so is hell.
That's for Sorry Joe Plus, if he'll allow it. But anyway, check out footballguys.com, and we appreciate you. 4 games down, 4 games to go, and what the heck flex. We weren't going to forget about that wherever you're at right there. Boom. What the heck flex coming up at the end of the show. Washington and Denver. I got some Jerry Jeudy thoughts, but that'll have to wait because I have some Commanders thoughts first. And one, I believe, Bloom, that Terry McLaurin, who is full participant in practice with the toes always linger, so just whatever. I believe Pat Surtain will be on Terry McLaurin, which means Jahan Dotson going to run wild against Amari Mathis. Yeah. So you like what Jacoby Myers did last week? Jahan Dotson will say, hold my beer, put a pin in that. We'll see. I'm not sure if Surtain will travel with McLaurin, but that just seems to be the way it is. Can the Broncos cover a tight end like Logan Thomas? He's healthy enough. And Sam Howell's going to play hero ball. Got a chance to talk to Zach Allen yesterday and, asked him about the difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and Sam Howell. He's like, well, one gets rid of it quickly and one holds on to it a little bit longer. So we'll see if that middle pressure gets there. The Broncos had 0 sacks against Jimmy Garoppolo, getting rid of that ball quickly. I imagine the number will not be 0 against Sam Howell, but do they actually run the ball? Do they actually use Antonio Gibson? Like, there's weapons that the Commanders could use against Denver if they would only do so.
Right. A test for Eric Bieniemy. Maybe Bieniemy. Remember, the main reason, I heard it all offseason, why would he take a lateral move? Why would he go to Washington? To get out of the shadow of Andy Reid, to show this is my offense. I'm the play caller. I'm the designer. I'm the architect. Judge me on this. And it is a promotion in that sense. But week 1, not necessarily so great. One particular gaffe, letting Sam Howell start a 2-minute drive inside of his own 20 at the end of the first half. It resulted in a defensive touchdown. It made the game a lot closer than it needed to be. So, like you said, Cecil, does Eric Bieniemy update and say, I need to help him? and not put him in situations where he can fail, and his tendency to hold on the ball for too long will cause disaster. But like you said, Jahan Dotson needs to be in. I think you've given us a really good skeleton key for the Denver matchup. Expect the number 1 to get blotted out. Expect an outsized target load for the number 2, maybe even number 3. Curtis Samuel, hip issue on the injury report, so watch that. Logan Thomas, he's certainly someone you're going to look at tight end. And I don't think Brian Robinson is what the heck flex anymore. See, I don't think Brian Robinson is a sleeper. I think Brian Robinson is just someone we're going to play every week, partially because Antonio Gibson is fumbling and not endearing himself or otherwise showing he deserves more work, partially because Brian Robinson, is going to do the things that coaches like, not fumble, run the play the way it's supposed to be run, play with high effort. And Brian Robinson's going to give you that, and he's going to give you a running back 2 for your fantasy team that you got pretty cheap. And Washington, the new age, let's remember, the Dan Snyderless Washington Commanders, that should lift our spirits a little bit. Maybe they can start 2-0.
Yeah, perhaps. And our guy Jason, Pot Stoner Degenerate, if you come to Colorado,
Yeah,
Bloom,
we got plans. Yeah,
we are going to see Jason and Greeley.
yeah.
I'm not saying that
We take the
edibles will
back
be
roads.
had, but yeah, we'll go up 85. That's about as
Okay.
back road as it gets. But anyway, yeah, we will do that. I want to know when Sig is moving here from Colorado. I found a studio space in Fort Collins, by the way.
Oh wow.
Just
Okay.
saying.
View the mountains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over a private lake.
Oh,
I know people. I know the Broncos know people. They've people are people. So why should it be that you should start Jerry Jeudy? I don't know.
no.
Jeudy should be back this week. That's not official. I talked to him yesterday. He won't give a percentage. He won't say if he was limited or whatever yesterday. I've seen him practice for 2 weeks. Last week, he was pretty close. This week, I'm expecting Jerry Jeudy to play. What does that mean? Is he the savior? No, it's a Joe Lombardi, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson offense. It's a bunch of short stuff. Now, can he take one of those short passes and turn it into an explosive play? Yes. Him and Marvin Mims. They got to trust the kids more. Dare I bring up Jaleel McLaughlin again? When they trust him, it will be spectacular. The trust isn't there yet. So it's more Javonte, it's more Samaje, and not just because I'm going to be at a barbecue spot doing a remote later today, but like meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Quinn Miners first said it yesterday in the locker room, and then Chris Manhertz talked about it. I asked him about it. Javonte talked about it. Like almost everyone is saying there's more meat on the bone with the ground game. Just put a pin in that. But thinking, Judy's going to save this and Wilson's going to fill the air with footballs. No, not going to happen.
No, see, they used to say about Jason Garrett, we don't got Jason Garrett to kick around anymore, that his offense was designed to get exactly 10 yards on 3 plays, right?
Right.
I think that Sean Payton listens to the show because it feels like this offense is designed to get exactly 17 points, right? Oh, we need 17 points to win? Let's make an offense that can get 17 points. And that really informs, I think, your takes on the passing game. I don't think you're putting anybody from this passing game in. Jeudy returning could make efficiency go up and maybe get them over that magic 17-point line. But it also spreads out the target tree. And you're seeing guys like Little Jordan Humphrey, Little John.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
What?
Do people still remember that?
The Dave Chappelle. Just remember the Dave Chappelle skit. That's
Yeah,
all you need. That's all you need, baby.
Second season of Dave Chappelle. It pains me to say it. It's perfection. So you have this wide target tree. I guess, again, Adam Troutman is a desperation tight end. I think that Javonte Williams is running back 2/flex because, like you said, if McLaughlin gets more involved, even if they run the ball more and they're running the ball well, you're still seeing a capped ceiling for anybody in this backfield. But it's you're back to covering a team that tries to win ugly every week. They lost ugly last week. This is going to be an ugly game, but they don't rate wins on artistic impression or beauty when it comes down to the playoffs. They need this one, or I think that your week of sports talk radio in Denver is going to be full of anger.
Yeah, well, I think it's just apathy right now.
Sure.
And all about Dion.
That's when you know you lost it, right?
Oh, yeah.
If they get to the apathy, it's over. It's Dion's town now, and maybe it should be Dion's town. See, tell the folks what you said when I asked you off the air. when you got to like actually make eye contact with
Oh,
Deion
no,
Sanders, how
it's
it made you feel?
see, I should answer it with a GIF. I should draw that
Ah,
up real quick because it's Deion Sanders, everybody. Like, so if you want to say Deion Sanders is just amazing and beautiful and wonderful, like, yeah, everything that he has done for this area and for this city, it's been fantastic. It's been crazy to see because it hasn't been like that really since the 90s, honestly. And I was here.
yeah,
I was in high school. We would talk more about the Buffs than we did the Broncos. Usually we
right.
just make fun of the Broncos because John always losing all those Super Bowls. But when I've been around Dion, and again, I bought his rap album 4 times. I don't need to say what I told you, Bloom,
Yeah.
because, well, I can just show you all the aura and what it felt like
Mm,
to be around
mhm.
him.
There it is. Well,
It was
Dave
amazing.
Chappelle twice. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It is. It is. It is an amazing thing. But you're right. I think that that's the case here, where Sean Payton is now potentially losing this area to Deion Sanders if he can't win this game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And CU will keep rolling. Not a college football show, although we do have one right here on our Football Guys YouTube channel. Check that out. Miami and the New England Patriots up next. I love Tua because he's got a little bit of that Dion attitude, right? When they asked him, like, you still can't throw deep, and he's like, I don't care. I don't care. Like, you got Tyreek Hill. He's going to make plays. Now, fantasy GMs want Jalen Waddle to do a little more. Dynasty wise, I'm like, does A-Chain have to be inactive? Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. I love Mike McDaniel, but like Devon A-Chain, it's a weapon. Totally inactive last week.
Yeah.
They were going light at running back. All right. What about this week against New England? You know, Bill's going to take somebody away. Can he
Mhm.
actually take Tyreek away?
Right.
I think not.
Right. That's the thing, right? Bill Belichick is going to try to get you out of your comfort zone, take away what you like to do. That obviously is throwing to Tyreek Hill. Certainly, I think it means if there's any Jalen Waddle, or I'll give you a Puka Nakua, or if it's Puka Nakua or Jalen Waddle, I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle this week. I don't think Puka has the same kind of ceiling that Waddle does. But the evolution that we saw in the Miami offense was River Craycraft, Durham Smythe, Braxton Berrios, Alec Ingold. And Alec Ingold had like 2 for 34, a fullback. All right. So you are already showing, well, if you take away Hill, that's fine. We've got all kinds of plays dialed up. And Chris Kaufman, who I think CK Parrott is his handle on Twitter. There
It
are very
is.
few people I trust more than Chris. He's like a Joe Goodberry level of like when he
One
says
of
something about the
the
team.
best.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Joe
he
and
says,
Chris.
yeah, if they say something about the team, then you can just take that as gospel. And he pointed out that what the Miami did, and this is scary because I pointed this out, and this is why I liked A-Chain so much, and that's why I didn't necessarily include him as a shut him down this week, because this offense creates so much space in defenses. That's how you get 17 yards per catch to a fullback, right? That Devin A-Chain and his speed can be that lethal element that adds on. So this team, I want to point this out again. Folks can go look at those charts, and they were an outlier. Like sometimes you have those charts where you chart out team efficiency, and there's one dot like way up and to the left where that's the good quadrant. And that was Miami. They were breaking analytics with the number of long passing plays they had last year. So what are defenses going to do to slow that down? Well, they have already, this is why you got to love Mike McDaniel. He's already anticipated it. Oh, okay. Because as Chris Kaufman pointed out, what they had less of in week 1 was Hill and Waddle on the field at the same time. And they were still producing big plays without both of them on the field. So this is exciting. This is a really fun matchup. Tua, I think you got it. I mean, Tua is the biggest play of week 1. And even though it's New England, you're leaving Tua in, you're leaving Mostert. Well, maybe he wasn't in. I do think that you're putting Mostert in. Here's the other thing, Cecil. Let's get into the head of Bill Belichick. What do you want happening if you're Bill Belichick? You want the ball in Raheem Mostert's hands. You want them handing off.
Yeah.
You want the running game. You want to show fronts and personnel sets that invite the Dolphins to run, right? This seems to me to be a Mostert game, maybe by Bill Belichick's will, but this is a Sunday night game. It's an island game. We'll get to watch it. What a fascinating game. And you saw what New England did against Philly. You saw what Miami did against the Chargers. You saw what the Jets and Buffalo did on Monday night. I think this division is up for grabs.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you gave me chills talking about Mike because when he was a ball boy for Mike Shanahan with the Broncos, and I've known Mike since he was a teenager, he would drop plays like literal lunchroom, like drop plays,
Yeah, you're the
napkin
bottle cap.
style,
I'm the
showing Mike like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Like, so this, like, and he knew what they would, yes, because that's just Mike McDaniel. That's just who he is, man. I'm so excited to see what Miami can do. So excited on the flip side, like, Mac Jones, really?
Right,
You're
right.
gonna get that out of Mac Jones? Okay, like, all right, Bill, you do Bill. But with that high-powered Miami team, like, you're gonna have to have Mac Jones going for 3+
Right.
again this week. Bloom, I don't know if that can happen. How about you?
Well, Miami's defense was soft against the run last week. We saw Kellen Moore put together a really good running game, and that tells me that maybe Ramondre Stevenson does more. And it's tough, Cease, because on one hand, I think we all can see that this is not the Ezekiel Elliott of 3 or 4 years ago. But on the other hand, I think they know in-house where Stevenson was at the end of the year, and I think they just know if they give him 25 touches a game, he's not going to last. And this team, of course, in-house, they're not thinking this is a rebuilding year. They're thinking this is a year they're going to contend. So I'm afraid we're going to see more Ezekiel Elliott than we want. But again, if Ramondre Stevenson's posting 6 for 62 in the passing game, we're okay with that. And against Miami, it might be better on the ground and he might get scoring opportunities. Mac Jones, I mean, I'm not going to contort to get him in my lineup, but at the same time, I'm not going to say, if someone said, I'm thinking about starting Mac Jones over Joe Burrow, am I crazy? You're not crazy. You're not crazy, because what are we looking at when we're analyzing these offenses in the offseason? Well, when there's a new offensive coordinator, we're looking at what that offensive coordinator can add, but we're also not quite sure how much the previous offensive coordinators were obstacles to production, obstacles to efficiency and function. Matt Patricia, Joe Judge was about as embarrassing as Urban Meyer as a head coach. Now you see Bill O'Brien just doing rational coaching. It's Mac Jones. We watched him at Alabama. Get the ball out quickly. Get him to make quick reads. He's accurate. He's decisive. He has good field vision. This can work. And it sure enough did work. I think Kendrick Bourne is kind of like Puka Nacua. I'm not going to talk people out of playing Kendrick Bourne. Yesterday, Bob Harris said something interesting. And this is Bob Harris. Folks, you can look at the sandbox we play in, fantasy football, and Bob Harris's initials are etched into the corner of it. He was one of the people that built it. Bob Harris taught David Dodds and Joe Bryant things. And he said, yes, always start your studs, but we don't know who the studs are yet. We don't know who the studs are. Maybe Kendrick Bourne is a stud. He certainly was used like a stud and produced like a stud. And against Miami, I would leave him in, and Hunter Henry also with that trust. And Devontae Parker's going to be back. I don't know if it's going to change anything. We'll see if Kayshon Boutte can get a little more, or DeMario Pop Douglas can get a little more. Juju Smith-Schuster looks like just a role player at this point, but a role player in a very high-functioning pass offense with Bill O'Brien's help, with Mac Jones humming. This is going to be a fun game to watch.
Yes, Sunday Night Football, greater than, what I got to do, this way, right? Greater than, however you're watching.
It's going to eat it. It's eating the thing that's
Sunday
bigger.
Night Football, greater than 2 Monday night games in week 2?
Yeah.
What?
The M stands for mediocre.
2 rules in life. Don't be dumb. Don't be in a cult. 2 Monday Night Football games is dumb, NFL. You're dumb. Like, that's it. That's my take. New Orleans and Carolina, though. Let's get to the takes there. Rashid Shaheed makes my heart happy. So how about some more of that? And then, of course, with New Orleans, it's against Carolina. Will Jamal Williams score? Like, you've got some questions here, Bloom, and hopefully we can provide some answers while we grit our teeth and watch Monday night 2 games.
Yeah. Saints on the road. What you like here is Derek Carr indeed is elevating the passing game, or at least against Tennessee. J.C. Horn's going to be out for Carolina, so that helps. You're going to play Olave. You're probably going to play Michael Thomas. Someone said Michael Thomas or Puka Nacua, Michael Thomas or Kendrick Bourne. That's how they stick with the hotter hand. Rashid Shaheed, you see him in about half of the snaps, but he's getting big targets downfield. He's getting targets in big situations. And I think the Saints know they have a weapon. So I would be inclined to break ties in favor of him. Not so much Jamal Williams, although this could be a change where Tennessee's tough on the run. We saw Atlanta have a lot of success on the ground against Carolina, and that's what do coaches say? We want to be able to run the ball when they know we're running the ball. And that's Atlanta. That's Atlanta in a nutshell, and Carolina knew they were running the ball.
Right.
Ejiro Evero, go back and your run fits and so on, because Jamal Williams will test them, and maybe Kentre Miller. I think what we can take out of that week one, though, is it will be Alvin Kamara's backfield when he gets back, and it could be a 2-0 start for the New Orleans Saints on the road with that defense leading the way.
Yeah, that defense will take over. And what does that mean for Bryce Young? Again, we're just watching the rookie quarterback and getting to see this trio of quarterbacks and Stroud and Young and Richardson looking the best in week one. Like, it's nice. It's a good collection. So again, I'm not going to get too upset and whatever Carolina does and what are they doing here and where are we grabbing where, like, nah, okay. Like, just I want to continue to watch the progress of Young.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And if it's another rough day, then don't believe that, oh, this means that it was a wasted pick. He was taken too high. It's because he's short or whatever. It's just a really tough defense. Look what they did to Ryan Tannehill last week. So this is another tough draw. You would expect it to be a lot of Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard, maybe what the heck flex, excitement home opener, first game at home for Bryce Young. And yeah, you leave Miles Sanders in. Miles Sanders also getting some work in the passing game. Hayden Hurst, maybe you leave him. He looked like the security blanket. DJ Chark could be back. Not that there was a receiver you wanted to start. Anyway, that could complicate things. But this is another game that is not going to be great for fantasy. But halfway through, you can change over to another game that's probably not going to be great for fantasy.
Yeah, because they overlap too. 2 Monday night games that overlap. Dumb.
Yeah.
Cleveland and Pittsburgh is our next game up, Bloom. And, well, I don't have a lot good to say about Deshaun Watson, but I love Nick Chubb. So why don't we keep this Nick Chubb-centric, but also knowing that the pressure and the Steelers defense should try to take Chubb out of it. What does that mean for David Njoku and Watson and the rest of the Browns targets?
Right. Again, if we're blaming the elements for Joe Burrow, and by the way, we didn't get to talk about this in depth when we covered the Cincy-Baltimore game in part 1, Cease, but somebody floated out there, maybe just shut down Burrow for 4 weeks. I don't know if that's crazy.
When you just paid him, that's not crazy at all.
No.
You have a precious quarterback.
Yeah,
You have a precious quarterback. Yeah.
So, but if we're saying, it was the elements, he couldn't get a good grip on the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Deshaun Watson was at least functional. Okay. So what does that mean about this Cleveland offense? Well, it probably still means a lot of Nick Chubb. I'll say this, Cease. I love that the Browns are on in prime time. Not quite an island game. I don't know what you would call that, like an atoll, I think, the chain of islands. Everybody should watch this game and just think, wow, I wish Nick Chubb was on my team, right? A fantasy team, NFL team, whatever, construction crew. You watch Nick Chubb do what he does.
Right.
You're like, I want to be part of that. And the Steelers, they're weary. This defense is weary. And now they're going to have to face a lot of Nick Chubb. Is there anybody else viable? I mean, we did see the Pittsburgh defense was generous to the San Francisco passing game, especially to Brandon Ayuk. Who would be that guy? Who would play the Ayuk role? Probably Amari Cooper, but he's a little banged up. Maybe this is an Elijah Moore breakout game. I think that if you were hoping for Elijah Moore to be a breakout player this year, what you saw in week one shouldn't discourage you too much, conditions, etc. We'll watch Njoku. I would understand if you benched Njoku. I also won't be surprised if he has a big game here, because the Steelers have the ghost of Quan Alexander and Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts at linebacker. So, yeah, David Njoku might be able to exploit that. We might see Cleveland's offense have some more looks, some more wrinkles. We might see a better game from Deshaun Watson, because this is absolutely a game where this offense that wasn't asked to do a lot to beat the Bengals. They might not be asked to do a lot to beat the Steelers, but they might do it better than they did it last week.
Well, let's talk about the Steelers and the change of Matt Canada's offense. Oh, wait, that's a joke. There is none. It's going to bore you to death on Monday night.
Oh, man. I let myself get optimistic, Cease. every year we go through this with the Steelers, right? We're really going to buy in. Are we really going to let ourselves get optimistic? Jim Schwartz defense. Yeah. Again, we're going to start teasing this stuff apart. Was it the conditions? Was it that Burrow's hurt? Maybe Jim Schwartz just is a really good defensive coach and he can deploy these guys in a way. We talked about on the offensive side. How much was Matt Patricia? I'm not saying Joe Woods is Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, not that level of a oopsie, but still, we might see that, hey, Jim Schwartz says, I can give me Myles Garrett, give me these guys. I can do something with that. So frustration for the Steelers offense, probably. Frustrating split, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, probably not playing them. No Deontay Johnson. George Pickens, I don't know about that. We'll probably see more short passing Allen Robinson. I'm kind of excited to watch Calvin Austin see. So I think Calvin Austin could be a player that we say, okay, you got a good one. Hey, the Steelers take a wide receiver. Chances are he's going to be a good one.
Right.
But they're all what the heck flex plays. Pratt Fryermuth got the touchdown last week. He's a little banged up. We don't expect this to be an efficient, overachieving offense in any way. And this might be a really sad Monday night to see the Steelers come out of the gate 0-2 at home and losing to the Browns at home. They used to never lose to the Browns at home.
I don't want to be upset on Monday night. So let's talk. What the heck, flex? You look over your lineup, you need some punch. You're just like, oh my God, where's it going to come from? We are here for you, our ever popular What the Heck Flex. Bloom, I've got a few to go over. At the running back position, Zeke versus the Dolphins. You want to slow down that team, run the hell out of the ball. Zeke is a what the heck flex this week for me. Tajay Spears against the Chargers. You're going to go against a high-powered team. You're going to need your explosive back. Love the King, but I love Tajay Spears as well. I'm going to put a pin on one of the Eagles running backs. I guess it's Rashad Penny this week against the Vikings. So there you go. Rashid Shaheed, I just talked about him against Carolina. Jerry Jeudy is a what the heck flex for me. I believe he will play. I'll be out at the headquarters here in a matter of about an hour. So yes, I believe Jerry Jeudy will play. He's a what the heck flex if he does. And then finally, I'm not getting off my Sky Moore summer stock, but it's just as a what the heck flex this week against Jacksonville. Bloom, you look over your lineups, you need that punch. Who are some of your week 2 what the heck flexes?
Raheem Mostert, I mentioned. I think Tajay Spears is a good one. We're going to look at Tim Kelly. Remember, he spent a lot of time with Deshaun Watson in Houston, offensive coordinator in Tennessee. What you hope to see in week 2 is, we watch the games and we say, maybe it'll be better if you do more of this and less of that, right? The Bears are going to be one we're going to watch closely with this. Maybe it'll be better if you get the ball in Tajay Spears' hands more against the Chargers. And this is a run defense that he could break some big plays against. Speaking of the Chargers, I think Joshua Kelly, we're going to see Austin Eckler's reports with his ankle and so on. Even if Eckler plays, this is a tough Tennessee run defense, but you got to consider Josh Kelly. I'm with you on that Eagles backfield. I would say DeAndre Swift, but either way, take a chance if you need to with an Eagles back tonight. Rashawn Johnson, again, the Bears. What adjustments you're going to make, Luke Getsy and Justin Fields, especially because it's Tampa. I would guess that the personnel sets and plays they have, where Rashawn Johnson is the back they went on the field, those are the plays that are going to work the best against Tampa Bay. Wide receiver, I'm with you on Kansas City. You say throw a dart at Sky Moore. We could say throw a dart at Roshy Rice, throw a dart at Kadarius Toney. Any of them really against Jacksonville. It could be the highest scoring game of the week. Josh Reynolds against Seattle. He looked like he deserved a lot more snaps, targets than Marvin Jones last week. KJ Osborne on Thursday night. You got banged up secondary for the Eagles. James Bradbury's out. Reed Blankenship is out. We saw KJ Osborne get a lot of looks around the end zone if Kirk Cousins can just stay upright in front and behind, banged up offensive line. We mentioned Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel. Again, we're going to keep testing this theory. Just start the other receivers, not the number one, when they're facing Denver. Brandon Cooks is a little banged up. Michael Gallup becomes interesting. We looked at Gallup and Cooks and said, well, if they're going to split this in a Mike McCarthy, Brian Schottenheimer offense, but you would also think if Sauce Gardner is going to be sticking sauce on lamb, you want some saucy lamb, maybe it's a Michael Gallup night. Tank Dell, we've talked about. Josh Palmer is interesting against Tennessee's banged up secondary. We know they can give it up through the air. And I mentioned Elijah Moore. So get spicy with it. Get saucy with it. Throw in some plays. Don't, like Bob Harris, one of the true sages of fantasy football, is telling us, don't feel like you have to start the guys you drafted to start. Start the guys you think have a chance to do the best. That could be your What the Heck Flex.
That is What the Heck Flex, because week 1 and week 2 is different than fantasy playoffs. I'm a start your studs guy, Bloom, but as the OG, the Godfather said, like, we don't know who the studs are yet. So there we go. That's right. Everyone, enjoy your weekend of football. And, well, Bloom, we'll be back Sunday night for the recap.
Yeah. And
So
it's around the same time as last week, folks. We'll be going live around 8:30 Eastern.
yeah, give us about an hour after the Broncos game is done, and we'll be on.
Yeah, and as always, we're just so grateful to get to serve this wonderful audience. I see the numbers for our live shows are higher than they've been in the past, but it's still a lot of the same people in the chat room that we love and know, and it lifts my spirits. Seeing you in this look, you got to give a name to this look, Cease. Let's work on that, or maybe chat room, maybe a community. Come to the YouTube, because you don't know what you miss. You miss the GIFs, the memes, the JPEGs. What are they? Whatever it is that Cease puts up, so you know what his mood is. You miss the look. You miss the bucket hat. You don't know which bucket hat I was wearing today. So come out, like, comment, subscribe, help the channel, because it helps us continue to do what we love doing, which is talking football with you.
Set up a P.O. box so people can send you bucket hats. Like a different bucket hat a day keeps the doctor away. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I think that'd be great, man.
I'm not acquisitive, but if we did that, then I would call out. Maybe you could put a little note in that I have to read on the air. Sorry, Joe.
Right. That is the wrap for today's program. He is Sigmund Bloom. Follow him at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible. You'll miss the Mudras if you don't come out for the live show. So make sure to enjoy those as well. We love you guys. We appreciate you all. Thanks. Help us grow the YouTube channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we'll see you on Sunday night. He's Sig. I'm Cease. We are the Audible. Everyone, thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty,